Then what we're going to do is bring your attention slowly, withdrawing your attention inward and letting it softly land onto your breath. So whatever cycle your breath is in, the in or out, just land your attention right on it. And there's nothing you need to do to the breath. The breath will breathe itself. Just notice the sensations of the breath and how they change from moment to moment. That's how you anchor your attention. The feeling as it comes inside your nostrils, down your windpipe and into your body. Noticing the pause. Noticing the different sensation as the air leaves your body through your nostrils. Resting your attention right on the breath. Noticing how it changes from this moment to the next moment to the next. That's all you need to do. And checking to see if your attention is still on the breath. If not, just gently walk it back. And train yourself from time to time to check in to see where your attention is. Okay, and then when you notice that your mind is a little stable, then you just hold on to that experience, that focus. As we open our eyes and come back into the class to talk about honesty, you just hold on to that focused attention. Yeah. I can feel when everybody starts getting into that more stable, right? The discursive thoughts start going and you start focusing. It feels nice. I apologize for coming out of it a little early, but because we started late, I need to kind of go into it. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about honesty. Okay, this is the 6th of the 8 we're going through in this part of the series. So from this program, honesty is about the way we carry out our lives without harming ourselves or other people. That's what it has to do with. Honesty entails cherishing and respecting the wishes and the needs of others and really looking out for their welfare as well. So all that is involved with it. We say in this program that honesty is really a choice that we can make with every interaction that we have with people, those close to us and those at work and in the world, right? Other places in the world. So what is honesty? The way it's defined here is it's about being straightforward with others, being upfront and straightforward, regardless of the other person's power, their status, their possessions, their wealth, their relationship to you. When one's really being honest, the honesty is what's more important than those other things that can influence us, right? That can influence us to not be honest. So when we're honest, it's kind of contagious, because then it allows other people to be honest, doesn't it? Right? You notice that. It is said here in this teaching that it's really kind of beyond just telling the truth, like how we talk to little kids about the importance of not lying. This is a little bit deeper than that. It has to do with our integrity. It has to do with being authentic, and ethics are involved. Ethics, like what I just mentioned, that we choose to be honest regardless of our status, the other person's status, positions of power, or resources, or gain or loss, right? Sometimes we do lose things, don't we, when we're honest? So we need to kind of use our ethics to go beyond those temptations. Anyway, it's not rule bound, again, not like talking little children and saying, you must tell the truth, but it's about being aligned with our values, right? Our values that our actions are in accord with the desire and the wish and the value of being honest with ourselves and others. Honesty really involves a certain level of transparency within ourselves and with others, and accountability in all aspects of our lives. So it really does kind of require a lot from us, if you think about it, doesn't it? And it involves a lot that we need to do as well. We need to have self-reflection. If we don't have a certain level of self-reflection, then how can we be honest with ourselves, right? We need to be able to look inward with an introspective mind and kind of take a little, what would you say, like a moral inventory as we're going along, if we're being honest. So an honest conscience is going to take the burden off of us, because when we're not being honest, as we've all probably gone through sometime in life, not being honest, it's kind of like wearing a mask, isn't it? It's kind of like you have to be fake. You have to cover up, can't be real about something. And so this releases that burden from us. And it really entails taking responsibility for the mistakes that we make, doesn't it? However, the results or the outcomes tend to be very positive, as we all know, when we're honest. Again, that burden is released, of holding on to something, right? We get to flourish, or we have more of a chance to flourish because we're having this self-accountability, right? And this integrity in ourselves. And it's said that we're also better able to self-regulate, monitor and modulate our behavior, because if we're honest, we're kind of checking in with ourselves more, aren't we? So we can regulate, like, what am I thinking? What am I doing? How am I acting? And then we're taking responsibility for that. The last positive thing before we go into a little discussion about it is that it's taught that it's kind of like one of the basic foundations for trust in a relationship, right? We've all gone through the experience, right, of somebody not being honest with us, what that feels like. And then we also know when we haven't been honest with other people, how that can damage and sometimes even destroy a relationship. So honesty is a very critical life skill in this program. It brings, again, our integrity, our reliability, and, it says, I'm a reliable person, doesn't it? I'm reliable to tell you the truth from my view. And then we're transparent, so we don't have to hide anything from ourselves or from others. Now, we're going to go into a little meditation later, and this will be part of it, but I'll say now that we also need to practice a little bit of skillfulness around it. It doesn't mean to be honest, doesn't mean that we have to disclose everything about ourselves to everyone, right? That's not sensical, is it? That's not very good boundaries. It's talking about when we're in relationship with the person in front of us, are we being as transparent and fair and honest as we can be? It's really what we're talking about. And we can see the benefits. When we're around somebody who's honest, it makes us feel safe, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so with that said, we have a good 10 minutes. And since there's just a few of us, Farad, if you are able to, maybe you can come up on the screen if it's comfortable. Hello. And we can probably come off the recording for now so people can share. Or you want to keep it on?
We've been able
to keep it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts? What are your insights? What does that make sense? Do you have something to add to that? What do people think? You can unmute at any time. And Gustavo, you can share too, or Isabel. Think about it for a minute and then we can share.
Well, I can say a few words if you don't mind.
No, of course, please.
So what resonated with me is when you're honest, you create trust. And also yourself is also accountability. That's another thing. And the third thing was you don't have to disclose everything. Like somebody says, hey, give me $5,000 and you have it and you can maybe lend them the money, but you're uncomfortable. And they say, well, do you lie about it or what do you do with that? So that's the part of being true, but yet you want to be authentic and not compromise yourself. Well, you just don't feel, I guess, to be honest, you say, well, I don't know how you handle that, but definitely honesty and trust are interrelated, and I have a personal experience with that, as well as accountability. You being accountable for, as you said, put the mask on, and you basically will suffer from the consequences of it. But to make life simple is the best thing. And being honest and have integrity is definitely makes life a lot easier. That's my personal experience. If that makes sense.
That's a good point about accountability. What do other people think about that? I do have something to say about we call it skillful lying in Buddhism. There's a
Okay.
term in Buddhism, this is secular, but it's based on some Buddhist teaching in the past. But what do people think about this accountability and honesty does keep us accountable within ourselves? Is that what you mean? Accountable within ourselves or with
Right.
others?
Yeah. Yes. And again, being able to sleep at night that hey, you didn't say something that to benefit you in a way because you weren't honest and you had an agenda, kind of a thing.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right. Not having an agenda. Because the agenda probably is in reference to some of those things that I was mentioning, the power, the status,
Yeah.
resources, wanting those things instead of having ethics.
I think something that I can share is,
Can you speak a little louder?
yeah.
Can't hear you.
So I guess what immediately comes up for me after you sharing Farhad is that trust, when building trust within the self, it's a deeply confronting process at times because being honest with certain aspects that arise within you at certain times, it's reflecting a quality that you don't want to like completely embrace or make peace with, or maybe something that is not virtuous, or maybe something is revealed inside of you that like, because the reason why we want to lie is because there's like somewhat of like an internalized shame that what we're feeling or what we want is wrong or isn't going to be met in some way. And so instead of just being truthful about it, there's like an air of having to hide that. And so when we try to hide that, there's even more shame that comes in that process, and we're not being honest with ourselves. But to be honest with those aspects of the self that are maybe not virtuous, or like we're wanting something, I think that's one of the most difficult parts of the process, is sitting with that and recognizing I don't actually feel like this is in alignment with who I am. And how do I bring that into alignment with honesty rather than having to hide? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. I think honesty is the first step if we're trying to become more virtuous. If we can't change something that we don't recognize as a problem, can we? And then what happens when it's appropriate and skillful, and we do take the risk and expose to someone else that vulnerability?
Right.
Does the shame go away, or what happens? You had experiences with that?
Yeah, like
Taking the
for an
risk?
example, this isn't something that I do anymore because I've learned how to process it differently. But like before, I would, like if I had a plan with a friend and I was feeling really sad and or anxious or just like emotionally disturbed in some way, because that happens in life. Instead of just being transparent and open about it, I would make an excuse and just make up something because I didn't want to face the reality and my truth that something was like internally really upsetting me. And I didn't, just want to like name it for what it was. So there's a level of avoidance there and not taking accountability and responsibility, and just embracing those parts of me, because there was a part of me that felt like that part of me wasn't allowed.
Right.
So but then I started to practice saying to the people that I felt close with initially, and then to like people that I would meet, be like, hey, I need some, like, reframing it, and I need to take some time today to sit with myself. I know we made this plan and I want to stay consistent and reliable and not spontaneously, like be flaky. but I do need this time for myself, and I hope that you can honor that, and we can, rain check something.
Can you come on the video so people can see you?
I can turn it.
That's what I was wondering. When people here share, maybe we can do that.
Yeah.
I just thought of that.
That's pretty much it.
Oh, that was it though, huh?
Yeah.
I just have a comment, and it's kind of a question regarding to what Marat was saying about somebody coming up to you and asking you for money, and whether you lie or not. It's kind of in let's just say some of the Buddhist teachings about what if someone comes up to you or how about this example? A woman or maybe your mom or somebody walks into the room and they go, I love this new dress. Do you love it? And they're so excited about it. And they're very happy about this new dress they bought. And to you, the dress, you may qualify it as kind of hideous from your taste. But from a moral view, what's more important? Being honest and saying, I think it's hideous, or using a little bit of skill and saying something like, oh, that dress, you like that dress. That dress works for you. Or that dress looks good on you. Instead of, somehow like a little bit of a skillfulness where we don't have to be, like, again, when I said it not being rule bound, that's what I meant by that. You're still keeping your ethics, the ethics of not hurting somebody's feelings over the dress, right? Or not getting into maybe a confrontation with somebody who wants money and you say no, meaning I don't have extra to give to you. We don't have to be so rigid, right? I think that's the point. We can use our wisdom. So
Can relate to that.
you can relate to that. Can you turn that to him?
Yeah.
It's not just.
Are you comfortable?
Are you okay?
The not being honest to not disappoint somebody, or not being true to yourself by agreeing to do things that you don't want to do, or just to not disappoint or say something to someone that you feel might hurt their feelings, or so that type of dishonesty I can relate to having done in my life. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's something that you think is skillful or not. Is it? What? Tell me.
No,
more.
I don't feel like it's skillful now. No, but I've definitely have done that.
So saying something not to hurt people's feeling can create just dishonesty in the relationship. Right.
Yeah, because I'm not being
authentic,
transparent,
like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone came in the dress you thought was hideous, but she loved it, and it meant, let's say it's your mom. Is your mom still alive?
No.
You have an aunt, so you see
I definitely have answers.
You see the point I'm trying to make, like the skillfulness.
Yeah, sure. I understand.
Anybody else?
I was just thinking, can you hear me?
Not quite yet. Can you turn her up a little bit?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, that's a little better.
A little better? I'm like right in the computer almost.
Okay.
But it's interesting because I'm reflecting on what you just shared. And for me, I think in a situation like that, I would want to tap into the joy of the person, and that would feel very authentic to me. You seem so excited about this dress and how beautiful you feel in it. And that feels authentic. It's, I guess it's leaving some information out if I don't like the dress, but it still feels, I don't know, it feels authentic to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole thing, this is a really good point. I think the thing about this program is we're looking at ethics. And it's hard because things aren't black and white in life, are they? I think what Gustavo I'm guessing what you might have been talking about is things in a relationship where it kind of mattered that you had to be transparent and about what you really felt. Like being able to say, no, I don't want to go to the beach for the 10th time. I'm making that up. But I just like your point. Your point is that joy, is that what you had said? The joy?
Mhm.
Joy. That's a higher ethical level than having to be honest about your feelings, because your feelings, they're not that important right then, are they? Or your judgment of the dress. Not as important for the relationship, is it? To maintain the relationship. This is what this is about, is keeping our ethics and keeping a connection with people that's healthy and deep and virtuous, like you were talking about, Isabella. So it's all about skillful means. And I like to say, I've learned this from my Buddhist teachers, a couple of the Western ones, but some of the Tibetan ones. There's a good word I use when I mess up. It's called whoops or whoopsie. Kind of take some of that shame away. Okay, so let's do this. You ready? You want to do a meditation on it now?
I have one last quick question.
Oh, yeah.
I notice my stress level goes up if I'm not being honest about something, and mainly because I don't want to hurt somebody. That's why of not being like upfront with them and so on. But that can hugely stress me. I mean, it's amazing how much it stresses me. Because it's basically violating my value systems. Is there a relationship with being like a stress level and being somebody who really is honest but has violated his own basic value system, and all of a sudden his stress level goes up, and until you don't clear the air.
So this is the thing about stress. And my fellow psychologist friend knows this too. Stress isn't always a bad thing.
Okay.
Like if a bus is coming down the street and you're close to the curb and you get stressed, that's your neurological system saying get back,
Right.
right? I think that the stress that you're feeling is a positive thing, because your inner system is saying to you something's off here. Just like with
Yeah.
the bus coming down the street and your sympathetic nervous system going off. It's the same thing. So it's a healthy thing as long as you can take that and then do something with it positive, right?
All right. Sure.
Not stay stuck in that stress,
Yeah.
but use the stress to move into something.
At the end of this session, I'd like to share something that happened to me this past weekend that might be useful for folks, because it's an important thing. But let's have a meditation. I will share the experience.
Oh, we might, let me see, 10 minutes. Do you want to wait and do it at the end, or do you want to do it
Yeah, I can wait.
at the
Yes.
end? Okay.
It's mainly because I think it's an important thing that maybe others should know. And it has to do with stress, but it's also the reverse. Anyway, I tried to make it in 2 or 3 minutes towards the
Oh,
end.
no, take your time when you go to talk. We'll give you time.
Okay.
Great. Okay, let's assume again that upright, positive, confident position. I'm sorry, I tend to have this ongoing cough, so I'm sorry. I have a cough drop because I lead it. So sorry, everyone. So sit up with a comfortable, confident, upright position. Allow your body to relax in the seat. Set the intention to do some contemplative meditation on honesty. And for the first few minutes, let's just watch a few rounds of the breath. And now just stay within that focused attention as I just walk us through some contemplations. Let's think about honesty and its relevance in our lives. Thinking, does honesty contribute to my happiness in life? And what are the effects when I'm honest and when I'm not honest? And when others are honest or not honest? Does it matter if it's a small act of honesty or a larger one, or dishonesty? Does spending time reflecting on yourself, on your actions, being present, learning to be quiet with yourself, does that help with honesty? Here we define honesty as acting with transparency and fairness. This can look a little different across settings, different environments, and different cultures. And yet, each of us really knows deep down that feeling or that sense of right or wrong. We know when we're not being transparent and fair. So then we can ask ourselves, how much do I listen to this inner voice that needs to be honest with myself? How much do I do this? And, or how much do I come up with maybe excuses or rationalization saying, well, others do it, they get away with it. So how much do we listen to our inner voice around our value of being honest? We all have the choice to be straightforward and honest in all the dealings with others, every moment, every day. So recall a time when someone was dishonest toward you. Maybe they cheated you when you were trying to buy something. Maybe they lied to get out of a difficult situation. Just bring something forth in your mind and recall what it felt like. Can you recall it now? Just stay with that. Okay, and let's put a pause button on that. and just slightly shift our attention to recalling a moment when we weren't completely honest with ourselves. I don't know, maybe taking stationery from work or using something from somebody without their permission, maybe not paying for a parking ticket. You know, the little things that we do that kind of the childish mind thinks we got away with it. And yet, if we look closely, we can sometimes feel there's another feeling underneath that. Maybe an uneasiness. Maybe not, but see if you can recall that. Something we did we don't feel so great about. Not a big thing, smaller thing. And then we need to ask, well, why is it? But I still remember it now, and that I still have this uneasiness. There's no such thing as a good person or a bad person. Rather, we just look at behavior, whether it's skillful or unskillful. Like the skillful example given earlier of having joy in someone's liking of their dress that we think is hideous. Skillful. Depending on whether our intention was to help them or harm them. Think about that. Think about what helpful means, and that it doesn't mean about anything like I got away with it, but more like being of help. So when we bring things up that we're learning to be honest about, it can bring up some bad feelings within ourselves about ourselves. But there's a process we can go through to move on. This is a 5-step exercise, and I'm going to walk us through it. So think about, maybe it's that same thing you brought up, a small thing that you behaved in a way that was not really fair or honest, or it didn't align with your values. Don't choose anything too difficult. Keep it small and manageable. So the first step that we do when we recall it, let's make sure you've got it in your mind, is that we practice what's called regret. Regret is a healthy state of mind. It has nothing whatsoever to do with toxic guilt. This is a healthy thing. It means I simply wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I would have done something else, because it went against my own sense of right or wrong. We end up feeling relief and kind of cleaned by it when we have regret. It's not guilt, it's remorse or regret. See if you can bring that up in this situation. And then the second step is that we take some kind of refuge. What does this mean? It does not have to be religious. For some people it is. For others it isn't. It means that we draw forth something that's higher to inspire to, something to trust in. Some people say God, Allah, Buddha. Or from a secular view, you can think of an example of someone who is your role model. Some person or something that's like an umbrella of protection around behaviors that harm us and others. It's like an umbrella that protects us around the elements of when we get negative. Take a minute to take refuge, however feels right to you. That's like our support system, right? And then the third step is to apply a remedy. That means maybe you're remembering stealing something years ago, and so you return what was taken. Or apologizing for lying or using harsh words. For some people and in some situations, it's appropriate to identify remedy that's very private and very internal. Even the thought or the wish of that person being happy or something virtuous in your mind would be enough for the remedy. And if it was a long time ago, you can counterbalance in a current similar fashion. Like if you stole years ago, you can give to charity. If we neglected someone, then we can make an effort to take care of others. These are all just examples for your own remedy for you to come up with. All you need really is just a genuine wish in your heart to make amends. And then the fourth step is to make a resolution or resolve. I'm going to the very best I can to not repeat this. I don't want to do this action again. I don't want to harm in this way. And I don't want to go against my own inner sense of right and wrong. So try to be realistic, because habits, maybe habit of lying, for example, it could take some time. So with the resolve, we usually come up with like a time period or a way that we're going to shape it slowly in a certain way. But we make a commitment to stay with our own values, to not go against them. You choose which kind of resolution is the most helpful for you in learning to move on and to move away from that behavior. And then the fifth and the last step is very wonderful. It's just what we talked about in one of the classes. It's about rejoicing. We can feel satisfied and pleased just by the fact that we countered a tendency to behave unskillfully. It's a very, very powerful skill to rejoice in our own goodness. Rejoicing is so powerful. It's like a powerful neurological tool because it reinforces the pleasure parts of the brain, the reinforced pleasure, because when we rejoice, we feel good. And then that lends itself to us having more of a chance of being positive and acting in the way that we want to. So we'll stick with our good intention. So don't forget to rejoice. In other words, when we're honest with ourselves and we see something that we would like to change or grow, there's 5 steps. Have regret for what we've done because it's harming us as well as others. Find your own sense of refuge and protection, either spiritually or secularly with the role model or someone you admire. Do the remedy, whatever it is, even lighting a candle and thinking wonderful thoughts for that person you may have said harsh words for, or sending them a nice letter. And then a resolve not to do it again is the 4th. You know, I'm stronger than this. I'm bigger than my habits. And then the 5th is to rejoice in all that virtue that you created in your mind stream. Unbelievable amount of virtue to become a better human being for others. Don't forget to be really kind to yourself when you're honest. It's a precious gift you can give to yourself. Just like you would to a small child or a friend. Be kind to yourself. And may this practice of honesty enrich all of our lives and the lives of everyone with whom we come in contact during the day. Okay. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Come back to our Zoom room. Isabella always wants to stay in meditation, I notice. I can't speak for you, but it looks like that.
Yeah.
Sorry. If it was my choice, I would do these, I would lengthen these a bit, but we only have an hour. So okay, we have a story to hear since we only have 5 minutes.
Well, I don't want to go next if somebody else has something to talk about, because mine is a little bit unrelated and somewhat related. So let me just yield to others, and if we don't run out of time, then next week, and well, maybe the next.
I'm having a hard time hearing. Can you?
I said I'm going to yield to someone else if they have something to say about the related topic.
Oh, anybody?
Gustavo or Leslie
Any?
online, do you guys want to say anything about?
So I'll just say this, that when we do contemplative meditations, there's two different kinds of meditations like we've talked about. One is stabilization or focusing the mind. And then the contemplative meditations, we're thinking, right? We're using our noodles.
Right.
We're processing, we're thinking, we're contemplating, and that's where we find ourselves coming up with the aha moments, right? Have you had those? It's like, oh, I didn't see it this way before. Or a new little small R realization. That's the gold, and that's what you want to hold on to. So when you're doing contemplative meditation and something comes up that either opens your heart or you go deeper in your comprehension of the virtuous topic, then you bring back in the stabilization, focused meditation, and you stay focused on that insight. That makes sense?
Mhm.
That's how we change our habits and our point of view. Okay. I talk too much. Anybody else want to say something? No?
Something really quick. I'll say something really quick.
Sure.
I was surprised because of the thing that I did in the past was a long, long, long time ago, and I was surprised that there's still a little bit of shame that came up. And it's like, anyway, after that many years, I that was surprising to me.
Yeah, it's funny how we have these tendrils that can go back at any time. It's kind of like also with like schemas and schema therapy. You know, we can have some ideas like perfectionism or there's all different kinds of things that you can think aren't part of your life, but anything can trigger it. And it's the same thing with this, Leslie. Anything like, you're like, really? That when I was 10 years old and I stole all those cookies, you know, because we're not thinking about it during the day. But there's a part of our consciousness that knew at that time it was wrong. And now in our lives, it feels safer to come up. And it's quite beautiful, I think. It's kind of a testimony, I think, of where we are psychologically and spiritually, that we feel this safety and security within ourselves for it to come up, right? I do have a question. Does the regret that I mentioned about it not being a toxic guilt, but something that we want to release it from ourselves. We want to unburden ourselves and realign with our values. Does that help with any of the shame? does that in this exercise? Leslie or anyone else?
Yeah, I think so.
It does for you, Isabel?
Yeah.
Can you turn that around to you?
Well, I mean. Oh,
No.
It does go around to you. Oh,
Hey guys. Yeah, it helped. It helped to reflect on regret and separating regret from internalized shame or toxic guilt, because it can be so intrinsic and intertwined, especially in Western society,
yes.
where you're just like born into it.
Yeah, important.
I really liked the 5 R's. I liked that whole process. That it helps me when there's like systematic approaches to to analytical, like psychologically analyzing something through systems really helps me in terms of processing certain emotions. And the rejoice aspect was really nice, because I haven't really thought of doing that, being like, you've learned from this, you've grown, you've chosen differently many times, and how beautiful that is. Like not necessarily like, yes, giving gratitude, but rejoicing, like feeling genuine
Yeah.
joy for that transformation or for that change, or to be different or to choose different, and how like freeing that can be if we approach it from that place. Such beautiful things. So
Oh, that's great.
I liked that, the 5 R's.
Okay, you have to write them down.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So, yeah, so I think the thing about this that's different is that in Western world, we glom on because we say, I am bad, right? That's what shame is. I don't want to go into too much detail, but a little bit of shame is healthy, because it's like, oh, that's not who I am, right? So it's not my values. But the toxic shame, there's an over-identification. And in Buddhist terms, it would be an over projection of the I in a way that's overblown, right? The Tibetans don't even have a word for shame, not like we do. They're like, huh? Forever, His Holiness the Dalai Lama had a hard time, like, what are you talking about? Because they don't hold on to it like we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a story to listen to. I'm okay for, I think we have time.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Well, can you hear me though?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the reason I wanted to, I'm basically in high tech. I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not a psychologist. I've had a lot of experience in management and high tech. And in management, we have learned something about the stress, which is like they call symbolic stress versus physical stress. Symbolic stress is defined as when your principles or value systems are violated. Like you have not been honest, or somebody has not been honest to you. So anyway, the past 1 year, I've been under a lot of stress for both physical and emotional or symbolic stress. And I'm trying to simplify my life. But also I've done a lot of studies, and I'm now learning a few things about the neuroscience part of it. And I learned about a bunch of things about this vagus nerve. Okay. So this past Sunday, I was playing pickleball, and I'm very healthy. I don't have any health issues. But I'm normally very aggressive on a win, and I want to. But anyway, while I was playing, I was not hydrated. I was a little bit stressed for the top because of a reason, and for the first time in my life, I collapsed
Oh, wow.
because of the stress and so on. So I went and checked, and everything is good. My heart is good, my brain is good, nothing physical. But then when I talked to my primary doctor this morning, he said, because of the stress you're under, your vagus nerves told your heart, slow down, slow down. And with being dehydrated, you basically collapsed. So I guess the reason I'm sharing it with you is that if you guys are stressed because of dishonesty of somebody or whatever reason that has been violated, or you're violating yourself even and you're stressing over it, be careful and somehow deal with it. That's with the 5 steps or whatever form you don't get behind the car and drive and so on. And really, really try to distress or reduce your stress level because there's a whole physiological aspect to this whole thing, and it's best. Anyway, I've learned a lot, but anyway, that was kind of a awakening thing for me. Try to simplify my life and be upfront at the beginning when I get into some relationships and make sure it goes the right direction. Or get out Dodge as soon as possible. I don't know if it's worthwhile, but that's what happened this weekend.
Oh, that was a wonderful story. Thank you so much for
Yeah, by
sharing.
the way, I can see I got a bruise here because I've landed on my face and I broke my cheekbone.
Oh my, I'm glad that you're okay overall, though.
Yeah, I'm okay. As I said, I don't have any heart issue, brain issue, nothing like that. But in fact, my heart rate never goes below above 54.
Oh, wow. Well, the vagus nerve is supposed to have some connection also with compassion training. There's
Yeah,
some
no.
research on that. I have that somewhere at home.
The 10th cranial nerve that controls all of our internal organs.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's very important.
it's big.
It's big.
Big one.
Wow. So your spiritual search or your search is bringing you to some very interesting places.
You talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to learn more about the vagus nerve and how to calm it and attend to it and tell them to take it easy on me.
Yeah.
All right, sorry
Okay.
to.
So let's do our dedication.
Oh.
Let's think about, it's nice to start just with the people in the room, the Zoom room and the physical room here. Let's dedicate it first to ourselves. That's okay, right? Dedicate to everybody in the room with us, that they have peace, happiness, that their life has meaning. Each of us have a meaningful life and are well and prosper. And then let's think about our family, our close friends, our community, and everyone within that flourishes, prospers, their problems are relieved, they have a meaningful life. And then we just keep sending the concentric circle of the dedication out toward people in the larger community, in the country. Country's going through a little change now, isn't it? So we send out warm wishes to everyone in this country to be well, happy, to flourish. People in all other countries. And then we send it out to the whole world so that so-called strangers are part of our dedication. And then especially for the people who we think are difficult or enemies, we put them right in front of us in our meditation. And we wish them from the depth of our heart for them to be well. That they're just like me. They don't want to suffer and they want to be happy. So we wish everyone to flourish, to be loved, to be cared for, to be safe. And then we rejoice in the positive potential we just created on our mind stream. So don't forget the rejoicing when you do the 5 parts, okay? Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It was a lovely evening. Thank you for the stories.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Isabella. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week, maybe.
Yes.
We only have 2 more weeks.